Hi, everyone, and welcome back to a new episode of Stories of Awakening podcast. Today, I'm joined by Phi Dang. She's a human design life coach. She's passionate about helping people overcome their negative self talk so they can conquer anything. And she has also just wrote a book that is called The Great Unlearning. And I'm sure we will talk about it more in this episode. Welcome, Fee, and thanks so much for being here.
Hi, Valentina. Thank you so much for having me. I'm really excited and grateful to be on the podcast.
Oh, I'm so grateful you accepted. Thank you so much. So I had a couple of human design with you, and they were so useful for me to really deepen my understanding of who I am and what I came here to do. I'm sure we'll talk about it a bit more later about human design and everything. But this is how I know you. And I know a little bit about your story as well. But I would love for you to share it with my audience.
Yeah, thank you so much. Yeah, I'm so glad we had a few of those human design readings. So, my name is Fee and I am based in Sydney, Australia. I am a human design life coach and I am actually self-taught human design. So I do human design intuitively. When I first came to the system, it did make sense to me at first. And then later in my journey, it really just clicked and I started doing readings, which I absolutely adore and coach people on. As you mentioned, so I used to work in a corporate job a couple of years ago. And then within 9 months of starting my side hustle, I was able to go full time as a life coach. I think the first 9 months we hit six figures, got a book deal. I wrote a book, which you mentioned, The Great Unlearning, Awakening to Living an Aligned and Authentic Life. And yeah, I mean, there's so many parts to the story. Was there anything in particular, like perhaps how I became here or my spiritual journey?
Yeah, I would say your spiritual journey. Yeah, if you want to
Yeah.
share with us. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, when I was younger, so my dad died when I was 20 years old. So that's almost 10 years ago for me. And that was a huge thing because just before when he was sick, I kind of started meditating. I read The Power of Now by Eckhart Tolle, and I thought I knew spirituality. I did not. And it was kind of going through that really got me onto the spiritual path and going to the depths of despair, really. Like when I lost my dad, I had like delayed grief. I had depression, I had anxiety. I didn't want to live anymore. And I kind of had that breakthrough moment, the spiritual awakening, like, what was I doing? And, then it's funny because that happens and then you kind of just go back to normal again. And it really wasn't until in my corporate job, I was suffering a lot of like mental health things like anxiousness and a lot of pressure to perform. I was having health issues. Like I had high blood pressure at 25 years old, which is not normal for someone that
Mhm.
has a good like diet and health. I was having like anxiety attacks, like having my period for a month. So it was starting to take a toll on my body. And I kind of found spirituality again during the pandemic. I
Mhm.
went on a Wim Hof retreat, which is like a breathing retreat. And that was like the first time that I experienced, I guess, seeing my past life. I saw myself as a witch being burned at a stake. And I was like, okay, this is weird. This is not expected. And I kind of, from there, started to get more into my spiritual practices, particularly meditation. And actually, kind of like a year again after that, I woke into what people would call intuitive gifts. So, like clairvoyance, clairaudience, like kind of hearing things. And that was a shock to me because I think most people think you're either born psychic or you're not. But
Mhm.
actually, everybody is psychic and you can tap in at any time. I just had to be the right timing. I had to be open to it. I had to be ready for it. And that's been my journey. I was very much spiritually in the closet, especially when life coaching was a side hustle. I didn't want people to know. And, I guess the reach of organic media, like my workmates started finding out and I started embracing more of who I was. And, now I'm very much open about my spirituality. I believe in Mercury retrograde. I charge my crystals. Like, just before I came in, Valentina saw me saging my space. So, I'm very proudly spiritual now. And it's been a journey to get there.
Yeah. Oh, thanks for sharing. I totally resonate with what you're saying because I come from a corporate job as well. And yeah, I was very interested in hearing about, near-death experiences or people that were seeing ghosts and things like that. But it was just a hobby at the beginning. I don't know, something that I was interested in. I didn't know that it was possible for everyone. And everyone, as you said, this is, I think, what many people really don't believe. But as you said, everyone has gifts, and different people have different gifts. Of course, there are some that can hear, some that can see, um, some they can heal through their hands, But part of the job that I do is really actually helping people to discover what their gifts are as well, so they can use it. And I think you are on a similar mission.
Yeah, I think so. And I think, in the spiritual world, for so long it's been taught like there's like deities and gurus to look up to, and we forget the divinity within ourselves and the power that we have within ourselves. And I think people like you and I and many other light workers that are really here to help people awaken to their own power within. And I think that's
Mm-hmm.
something that's a really cool movement that's coming about now.
Yeah, absolutely. So you just recently wrote a book that is
Yes.
available worldwide, right?
Yes, which is crazy, surreal. Yeah.
Wow. And sorry,
Yeah.
just all of this in a span of 2 years, all of this happened for you.
Yes. Yes. It's beyond comprehension, right? Like I never thought I'd be a life coach. And I guess this is what happens. And I think, when we talk about human design and being truly in alignment with your life's purpose, like the
Hmm.
universe just supports you. Like, I think when I started my side hustle, like life coaching during the pandemic, like I remember like for 3 months, I posted every day. I had no followers, like not really that many comments. And it wasn't until I decided to be really brave and speak up about men's mental health, which no one at the time, a couple of years, was talking about. And I was like, who am I to talk about it? I'm like a woman. I'm like this little Asian Australian girl. My account's targeted women. And, overnight, my account grew to 10,000 followers. And it's just kind of been growing ever since, with my writing. And yeah, I'm truly so grateful. I don't think this is how the universe works, right? It's not logical at all. I think if anyone
Yeah.
looked at my journey, it's completely illogical. But I'm like living the reality. I'm like, wow, like this is crazy.
Yeah, this is amazing. And I think here is when you are really in alignment with your soul and what your soul came here to do. Yeah. And it's a different journey for everyone. So I also don't want to put pressure on anyone if their journey is lower. For sure, mine is lower, but it's fine. It's fine like this. And you can have satisfaction anyway. But
Yeah, and I
yeah.
people don't talk about that enough. Like I really want to stress to people, like, I was working my side hustle before work, after work, in my corporate job. My relationship suffered at the expense of it. Like it wasn't all easy breezy. And I think social media makes it look easy. And, I never got into life coaching to make money. I truly accepted the fact that I would make less money and be more soul satisfied. And I guess when you really do what you love, the universe makes sure you're abundant and supported to continue. Because something I really grappled with was, you feel kind of guilty, but you can't help people if you
Mhm.
don't have money, if you don't have anywhere to live. Like, you kind of need that. And, something that was explained to me by one of my mentors is like, in a spiritual perspective, we have to remember this is not your only and first lifetime for many of us. And,
Mhm.
I could say like maybe in a previous lifetime, I suffered a lot. I know I have a lot. And so this lifetime, karmically, when I was aligned, it went very quickly. And maybe for some people that journey will take longer. But I love that you said that, because I do think everybody's journey is different, and you've got to trust that path, whatever that looks like, is the right path for you in this lifetime. Like whatever your soul needs to learn and how it grows and how it expands. And I think in a world where everything's about instant gratification, there's something about patience and slow growth and sustainable growth that you can actually manage.
Absolutely. Oh, thanks so much for talking about this because it's true what you said. especially if you work with social media and, what you see, it will be just the success of people that always seems overnight. They post a few things and overnight, their life changes. But as you said, there is some work behind the scene, and is not seen by everyone. And as you said, also we have all different timing. The same as everything else, like marriage, kids, society want us to have a particular, very one thing after the other in order, but it's not like that. It's not like that for everyone. So yeah, thanks
Yeah.
for saying that.
Yeah, and I think on the flip side of that, like my story, it's like that consistency and that passion at any time. Your life can change. It truly
Mm-hmm.
can overnight. So I think it's more about just keeping on going and trusting that alignment. So many of us are taught to think with our minds, and that's what I love about human design, like really learning. Not the majority of us are not meant to make decisions from our mind. We're meant to make it from our gut or from, our emotional place or an intuitive place. So I think that's really important to acknowledge as well.
Yeah, and enjoy the process too, because
Yeah.
we are always focusing on goals, but actually what is important, I think, is or who we become in the process of getting that goal, right? So is also enjoying the process, any step of it.
Yeah, because I think when you get there, it's like, what's next? And you never get to truly enjoy the moment. So I think it
Yeah.
is being appreciative because, when you think about where you are now, at one
Mhm.
point in life, this is where you wanted to be. You're wishing everything to be in this moment. And I always, remember to myself, like, this conversation, any moment in my life, I will never have it again. The exact same moment. Like, truly, life is a gift. And, I want to make the most of it, as I'm sure many people listening do as well do.
Yeah. So I really want to talk about the book, sorry.
Yeah, I would love to talk about the book.
Because when I read it, and I didn't read it yet, I read, the description and everything. And it's exactly what I love teaching as well, or helping people with. So great unlearning. Do you want to explain why you're called it like that?
Yeah. Yeah, so it's about awakening to living an aligned and authentic life. And I really wanted to talk about it sparking an awakened revolution and that invitation and initiation your soul has been craving. And I think it's about doing something different. And I think that was what I was kind of, I love the personal development world, but I think like every book, they're like telling you all these things you have to do, all the things you have to learn. And sometimes you just feel like shit. You're like, oh, here I'm, I haven't met the mark yet. There's just more stuff I have to learn. Like, when do I get to stop learning? And that's when I figured out, when I was coaching people, I wasn't necessarily teaching them a lot of things. I was actually helping them unlearn and unbecome a lot of shit that they had picked up across their lives. Like, if you think about our programming, our conditioning, the way that we were raised, we're taught so many things. Like you mentioned, like there's this timeline for life, and this is what self-care looks like. This is what success looks like. And I'm like, no, like, it's about stripping all of that back and really coming back to who you really are within. And that's already there. Like, you're not broken. And so that's why that concept of the great unlearnings come apart. Because I kind of talk about in the book, there's like success, self, inner being, relationships, and spirituality, because it's like all these parts of our lives that we're unlearning. For example, what's really coming to mind that I want to share is like for women, growing up in an Asian culture, I was taught like, you don't speak up. You don't tell people about your mental health. It looks bad on you. It looks bad on your family. And so for this book, it really felt like reclaiming a voice and really like empowering women to be them true selves. I want to talk about things like I talk about sex and masturbation. I talk about suicide. Like I don't want it just to be the positive things. I wanted to really cover like life in its full spectrum, which is, the high of highs, but it's also the low of lows. And, for someone like me that has gone through so much shit, it's like that doesn't stop you from being happy and successful. We all dealt different cards in life, and it's how we play that hand. So that's what I was like really passionate about sharing in this book. And yeah, it was such a grateful, incredible journey to like channel and share this book and with my life experiences. So it's very vulnerable as well. It's like someone reading your journal.
Oh yeah, I can imagine. And thanks for being so vulnerable. I read many books, and I think when they are really vulnerable and they write things like from their heart is where really have the power to change people's life, you know. So thanks for doing that. And I I love this concept because I totally agree with it. Is how I describe awakening, realizing that you are already complete and all the other things that they told you to do or to be is what you have to let go of to actually remember who you truly are and what you came here to do. So yeah, I definitely look forward to read that book.
Thank you.
Um,
And yeah, I love how aligned we are.
yeah, absolutely. Um, so, and you're still coaching people with using human design, right?
Yes.
Amazing. Do you want to talk about that as well?
Yeah, I mean, I love human design. I think it's like for people that don't know, and you're kind of sitting there or listening, thinking, I wish I had more guidance in life, like a roadmap or a manual, or how do I actually live my best life? Like, what does alignment actually mean? Because there's so many terms in the spiritual world, and there is that way. And I think human design is that for me. And human design is a self-empowerment and personal growth tool. So you can kind of think about it like the love child of astrology and Myers-Briggs, personality test. It combines science with spirituality. So yeah, it's got astrology, I Ching, the Kabbalah, like all of these different things. So people kind of call it like the new astrology. And it's such a game changer. I think the core thing I really take out of human design is how validating it is. Like, don't you think it's just like, oh, I am the way I am. This is how I'm meant to be. Like, oh, for me, like learning, I am designed to be emotional. So stop beating myself up for like that's what's really powerful. And so in human design, you have a body graph, which is like the chart that I read, and you have your conscious personality, and then you have your design personality, which we believe is created 3 months before you enter your body. So there's like 26 different energies altogether that you read in someone's chart, and it's like astrology. Like when the planets move and change, it also changes. So it really helps you answer things such as like your greatest strengths, how to make the best decisions, what themes you'll have in your life, and kind of answer those questions like, who are you? Like, why am I here? What am I here to do? And so, yeah, in a reading, I talk about someone's type, like their energy, the
Mhm.
strategy, how your energy flows, your authority, how to make the best decisions. There's energetic centers, there's your personality profile, there's like your soul path. So there's a lot of information, which I'm sure you can attest to, because we did a couple of several readings, because it's too much to simply give in one session. You kind of have that foundation, you kind of experiment, and then you see if it aligns with you, and then you can learn more about yourself.
Yeah, it's endless, I think, the things that you can learn from it. Similar to astrology, I'm very passionate about astrology too.
Yes.
What would you say is the difference, if there is any?
Yeah, I think there is a difference, because I think human design has a practicality about it. When we talk about the energies, you have your high expression, you have your shadow expression. And so there's a bit more, like, for example, like you can use human design to look at your eating habits, what the best environment is for you. We can kind of see what's happening, and you kind of have like more of a guide. So, for example, if we talk about your human design, like a sacral generator, like what does that actually mean? It's like, sacral authorities, like I mentioned to you, like you're here to make gut reaction, instinctual. Like the longer you leave it, the more your mind is infiltrating it. So that's validation to you. I make the best decisions based on human design, based on what is coming through me in my body. It's instantaneous. I have to trust that gut. The more illogical it is, the more it's meant for me. And it even gives you the language of what does your gut mean? And, we kind of talked about, it sounds like, like the energy, like feeling pulled towards something, or pulling back, like, oh, that's not me. It's kind of like the fuck yes or the fuck no. So that's an example. And as generators, which is 70% of the population, I'm a manifesting generator. We're here to live life, like that spark and that excitement. I mean, people can probably hear it in my voice as well. You can just feel someone's passion and hear it in your voice. So I love that it gives that practical terms. I don't think they I think they work together they
Mm-hmm.
give you a broader picture of everything. You know, I feel like what I kind of describe it is astrology is like the lay of the land. It gives you like a map, but human design gives you the compass. Like, how do I actually get there? How do I move? Am I getting closer? Am I not? That's how I personally see it.
Yeah, great definition. Yeah, I really feel that human design teaches you how to use your energy, your aura.
Yes.
Yeah, yeah. So, with astrology, you discover as well what kind of energy you have. But yeah, human design teaches you how to use it for best results. Let's say.
Yeah, and I think it kind of gives people, especially if you're new to this world of spirituality, like it actually explains those terms. Like, what is your energy? Like, so a generator, it's like a big aura. You know, you're like a
Mhm.
magnet pulling it in. So people can kind of visually see, oh, that's my energy. And then if you're sacral, oh, that's how my energy flows. And it talks about split definition. I think you're a triple split. So it's kind of like going three ways. You can kind of feel like, you know, disconnected and being triple split, certain people, our energy completes you. And so you feel like you're bonded towards certain people. You like to work in coffee shops because you get to pick up people's energy. So I think that's what I mean by practical. It just gives you a bit more information as to how to actually use it in your life and, you know, in your business. You know, before we jumped on this podcast, you know, I think you're a 4-6. I also have that 4 profile line, which is called the opportunist, which is networking. So we were saying, yes, of course, doing more in-person events, meeting people, networking is really great for us in business because we get a lot of referrals. So there's that
Mhm.
practical element. Whereas I think, you know, astrology kind of say, yes, I can see this timeline. This is good for you. Like, this is what's happening. These are your
Mhm.
natural strengths. But it's like, tell me more. And I think human design is that bridge.
Yeah. And did you have a reading? How did you discover human design?
I think I came across on the internet like maybe like 4 or 5 years ago. And it just
Mhm.
honestly, like, I was like, what is this? Like, it doesn't make sense. I couldn't read it. I didn't understand it. And I just saw it and I was like, this is not for me. And then, you know, I feel like human design's like ayahuasca. It comes into your life when you're meant to get into it. And a couple of years later, I ended up getting a reading done. And it was the weirdest thing after I got the reading done. Like, the whole system just made sense to me. Like, I just never did a course. I never got taught it. And I intuitively read it. And I started doing it for a few clients. And then my clients were like, wow, this is really powerful. Like, you need to share this with people. And I started like, it kind of just became a word of mouth thing. And I mean,
Mhm.
I'm very grateful because I don't really talk about the readings. You know, my Instagram feeds more my writing. I don't talk about human design, but I always get readings and I book out. So again, talks to the power of referrals. And you know, it's just a language that spoke to my soul. And you know, I have a 2 profile line, which they sometimes call the hermit or the natural genius, and it just for me happens to be human design, which I picked up, which is very frustrating because people are like, how did you learn it? And you can definitely go to school for it as well.
Yeah,
Just for me, it was intuitive because it's a language that speaks to my soul. I can't describe it. It's just so natural.
that's amazing. I didn't know this about you. Great.
Yeah.
So, if people want to work with you, how they can find you, if you want to share your website or yeah.
Yeah, so my website's phidang.com. So you spell my name Phi and then my last name Dang, Dang. So you can find a lot of information on my website. I have an Instagram at the Phi Dang, Dang. So you can also look at my Instagram. But yeah, I do readings, and it's not just like your foundational reading. As we've discovered, you can do a deeper reading where you go through all of the energies in your chart. You can do like a solar reading, what's coming up for the year. Different transits call for different times. I think your next major one is your Uranus opposition. I just finished my Saturn return recently. So it's such an incredible tool that can be used at different points in your life. Like I coach people for a year or two on it. It just is incredible the amount of information that comes
Mhm.
from your human design. And recently, last week, I've been doing a lot of synastry human design, like, you know, overlaying charts for friends and relationships. So it's incredible to see.
Wow. I didn't know
Yeah.
you could do that with human design too. I knew about
Yeah.
astrology. Oh, that's
So
amazing.
you can see couples, I've even done a couple after they broke up for them to understand why they didn't work. So, you can do it. I've done it for family members, like a mum and a sister, colleagues, a boss, and you. So yeah, it explains a lot of information because, like you said, talks about the energy and how it all connects in.
Wow, that's exciting. I'm interested in doing that.
Yeah, I know. We have to talk about that.
Yeah, and I saw you also have a retreat coming up, right?
Yes, I'm doing a day retreat in Sydney. That's like my first in-person event, and it's about like the divine feminine. And, hopefully, I'm hoping one day this expands into doing like global retreats. And, we were kind of saying, social media is an incredible tool, but I think people are also really craving
Yeah,
in-person events to see each other in person, especially after the pandemic.
exactly.
It's that connection piece. And I think we all know the algorithm's all weird and showing us stuff we don't want to see. So, yeah.
Amazing. And also, yeah, the book is you can pre-order it.
Yes.
Yeah.
And
Okay.
it will come out at the end of June, so the 23rd of June, 2023, but it's available for pre-order. And when in doubt, Amazon globally will always have that pre-order option, which is really, really exciting.
This is so exciting. Wow, I'm very happy for you, and I'm really looking forward to read that book.
Yeah, I think it's yeah, I'm nervous and I feel very vulnerable because it talks a lot about, my life, especially like when I was writing the book, I went through a breakup, I was with my ex-partner for like 3 years. So that was very raw and vulnerable, kind of talking about that. But I think I'm really excited to share more about personal things because I think it'll show people a full picture. And, kind of we talked about the timelines of success. Like, I feel like my life was making me to become a life coach and I didn't even realize it, like all the hardships. And I wanted to show people that you can turn your pain into power, your struggle
Mhm.
into strengths, and you don't have to be a life coach or somebody helping people, even just to understand other people or hold space for them is incredible.
Yeah, and also give an explanation to yourself why some of the stuff happened and leave in peace, regardless the pain you went through. I think that's also very powerful to do in your life.
Yeah, and I think anybody can do that. And I think we forget how powerful we are because we are so conditioned to
Hmm.
look on the outside for validation and all of these things. So I think that's why, we talk about an awakening. It's just so you feel it in your body. It's like, oh my gosh, like I realize like how powerful I am. Like I'm always co-creating with the universe. Like I always tell people that, like manifesting and things like, universe is open, watching 24/7. It's we're always co-creating. And I think that was obviously, I think for everybody, one of the biggest steps you take in your spiritual awakening is going from victimhood to owning your power. And, we can't control everything in circumstances. Sometimes we just have a really shit time, but we can
Yeah.
always influence the way we see things, our approach, our optimism, our energy. And I think that's really important for people to know as well, because, I think about, for example, my dad dying, that could have been the worst thing. It was the worst thing in my life. But I'll be honest with you, I don't think I'd be a life coach if it didn't happen. It was
Hmm.
such a big moment to wake me up. So I think, something like that made me something really shitty can happen, but it's so important, and I had two choices. I could be really depressed and stay in that slump forever and get angry at the universe, or I could be like, hey, for whatever reason, this has happened. And one of the most incredible things I can do is help people through their grief. A lot of
Hmm.
my clients, like I help them connect to their loved ones that have passed on the other side. And there's just nothing like that,
Hmm.
showing people because, I'm obviously living that experience, but I don't believe they just disappear. That they're here more than ever. And actually, I feel more connected to my dad more than
Hmm.
ever. In his human life, he was a classic emotional distancing, very manly and not about his feelings and, provided provided for the family, always have somewhere to live, always somewhere to eat, very safe, but not that emotional side. Whereas like now on the other side, when I connect with him, I'm like, oh, he's so supportive, like he's so loving, like he's learning on the other side, for his next adventure because we're all souls. We all have different journeys and contracts, and who knows what the next lifetime has to hold.
No, exactly. Thanks for also sharing that, which I think is very brave for many people. It's like, what? But yeah, of course, I think we are always connected to the people that, the past. And I think just knowing that can give you a bit of relief, that they are not lost forever. And you can
Yeah,
connect to them anytime, actually.
just have to be open. I think that was the biggest thing for spirituality. Like once I started believing, I was like, you know what, it could be a possibility. That's when all the doors opened, you
Hmm.
know? That's like
Absolutely.
when I kind of talk about in the book, like one of the chapters, it's kind of like faith and you're playing like an energetic game of tennis with the universe. Like we're so waiting for the universe to give things to us, but sometimes we have to move first. Like we have to show, like, I always kind of say, like, I'm always like, everything happens for a reason. And I truly believe the universe is supportive. So when it came
Hmm.
down to like quitting my job without a backup plan and going all in on my business, I wanted to save $10,000. I didn't. I was like, I just got to go. I just knew in my, gut, in my heart, it was time. And all these things came up like, oh, I might not have money. I might have to get another job. And like a year and a half later, I've never had to do that. And I just
Yeah.
really showed me like the universe is always supporting you. It
Mm.
doesn't always look good. I've definitely had months where I was like, oh, don't I have money? Not sure this, but the universe always comes through. And I think it's my unwavering belief and faith and trust in the
Yeah.
universe so deeply. But let the universe show you. Like that's why I'm like, let it show you.
Yeah, this is exactly the point. I think the missing part for many people is really that faith that is missing. They think they have to do everything themselves. And
Yeah.
even if they step into something that they actually are passionate about and they love, they think they will have to fight to survive and stuff. But it's really that's why I'm passionate about spirituality, because it gives you that additional explanation that you are not alone. You're always supported. And if you do what you came here to do, you will always find a solution and you
Yeah.
will succeed. Yeah.
Well, I
Um,
think, oh, sorry, go ahead.
no, and also I just wanted to add about what you were saying earlier, that is really our responsibility, right? Ability to respond to what happens to us. And we have the choice to, how to take things. And I can truly believe, because I went through difficult times as well, I can truly say that all these difficult times made me who I am now. And I understood why they happened. So I could support also other people that are going through the same. If you don't live, if you don't embody that, teaching the lesson is difficult. Otherwise, to guide other people to do the same.
Yeah, and I think people can tell that, I'm always saying that you don't have to prove anything because people feel it in their energy. They see
Mm-hmm.
it in the way that you live. And what I was going to say, so many of us are so scared of failing. And that's really
Mm-hmm.
our ego. It's that inner child. Like, I kept thinking failure means that, I have to get another job again or something. But I ultimately realized, like, when I'm on my deathbed, I don't want to have regrets. And, you know, your failure is just what you make of it. Like, I think the only thing you should be really scared of, or not really, but the worst thing that could happen is dying. Everything
Mm-hmm.
else you can recover from. You go bankrupt, you can recover. Money comes and goes. You lose this. You quit your job. Your business doesn't take off. Well, you just get another job, right? So I had to really learn that. And one of the biggest things was again that faith and self trust, because the pandemic made me realize like nothing's safe, not even a secure job. And it's
Mm-hmm.
not the job, my corporate job, that made me money. It was me, my dedication, my skills, my commitment. And that's when also like working on my money mindset completely changed my life, because I used to be someone, it's very karmic for me, like always feeling poor. Like even last year, like I was like, I don't have enough money. And then when it came to doing the tax, like my accountant did it like, I don't know, I was a bit lazy and late. And it was like 2 or 3 months later because I wasn't really focused on the money. And she's like, oh my gosh, you hit 6 figures. And I was like, oh my gosh. But the whole time I felt like I was poor. And I was like, it just shows you like the power of
Mm-hmm.
your thoughts and your calm and your conditioning. It doesn't mean
Mm-hmm.
it's necessarily true, but it's the
Mm-hmm.
storyline your soul has chosen to overcome and up level.
Yeah. What you were saying about, you don't want to have regrets. I think also this is really the point, because I remember reading some researches about people at the end of their life, what suggestion they would give to young people, and they were saying, try to do everything that you want. Don't be stopped by fears, because one of the biggest regret is really not living the life that they actually wanted at the end of their life. And I also heard from someone else, now I don't remember who it was, but that there are two important things to do in life. One is make your little self happy, your inner child happy. And the other one is your 80 years old happy. So what those two people would like you to do and how they would like you to live. So try to do that. And I think about it often.
I really love that. And I always think, when I'm dying, I'm not going to be like, oh, I wish I worked more hours. Oh, I wish I did that. Like, if anything, you wish you worked less, you spent more time with your loved ones. And I can't remember the quote exactly, but one that I thought about is like, the graveyard's the richest place on earth. That's where all people's dreams and the things they never make happen live there. And, because we live one life in this lifetime, we might as well try. I think the biggest crime is not trying. And it's okay. Like, you know what? Let's be real about it. I even think about being a life coach. And when I coach other coaches, I'm like, just so you know, it's like every industry on earth that like a very small percentage of the top make it. And if you don't, that doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It just wasn't meant to be in this lifetime. So I think, people are very focused on that. And it's like, do what makes your heart happy. And I promise you, the universe will align you to what is meant to be.
Yeah. Follow your passion, really is the only thing. And especially for our generation, because I understand that maybe in some other times in history maybe it wasn't that possible, but I think this is really the time where we need to step into our passions more than ever, and not just doing our corporate job 9 to 5 because we have been told that that's the only way to be secure and have a happy life.
Yeah. And it's the easiest time now. Like we have the internet. You can learn anything for free. I say that like genuinely everything is out there for free. It will just take you longer. So, there's not as many obstacles because we didn't have the internet back in the day. And, I also want to say to people like, it doesn't have to be your main job. At least if you have a passion, like a side project to, I remember my corporate job, my boss being like, the year, like when I had my side hustle, he was like, this is the best work I've ever seen from you. And it was because I had so much passion and fulfillment and joy in my life. So I think it's important for people to remember to have that. Like, we are not just like living to work. We work to live. It's secondary.
I think, people are scared to discover their mission in life because they think they have to leave everything from one day to another, but it doesn't have to be like that. Like you just said, it can be a side project. It can be who you are being also in your work environment that you're in right now. It can be how you behave with your family and friends. It doesn't necessarily mean that you need to change job. So yeah, I totally agree with that.
Yeah. And I think that's what I love about human design, because you talk about like the energies and the way it can be brought to life. Like that energy is so different. Every single person on earth will bring it to life in a different way. And I think people have to remember that. And I think for people listening that don't know their purpose, like sometimes your purpose finds you. Like I didn't seek out life coaching. It came to me at the exact perfect time that I needed in my life. So I think people can take that pressure off, because if I was to be really honest in spiritual terms, like your soul chose to come and have a human experience. This is your purpose already. Living your life as a human. Everything else is icing on the cake, an extension. But really, at the end of the day, we're here to live, to be, to exist.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much for sharing all of this. Is there anything else that you want to add?
No, I just wanted to say thank you so much for having me. I'm very, very grateful.
Thanks so much for coming. It was wonderful being able to talk to you again. And yeah, I'm looking forward to reading your book.
Thank
And
you.
thanks so much. Okay, thank you everyone for listening, and I'll see you at the next episode. Bye.